What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the debt ceiling and also NVIDIA right now, as this thing is on fire and it's helping the market pump in the after hours. So I'm going to talk about Tesla, SPY, the QQQ, and many other tickers out there from NVIDIA to Meta, and break down what the news, data, and technicals are telling us for all of us, and also some big things that involve Elon Musk and the Giga Berlin. Some very important things for Tesla. And before I break anything down about all of this information and talk about the debt ceiling, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla, Neo, or Apple share. The offer ends very, very soon, in just about 1 week, in just about 7 days. So check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So I do apologize to you guys about the pre-market video that came out today. I record those videos very early in the morning at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and today I was recording it and there was an audio issue that emerged, and I was trying to fix it, so I re-recorded the video and it didn't really fix. And then it was very close to market open, so I decided to just upload the video anyways, just to give you guys an up-to-date video, because I want to record these videos like right before the market opens instead of just afterwards, so you guys are prepared for what's about to happen. And that's why the audio wasn't the best. I was whispering. It almost sounded like an ASMR in the very beginning. But anyways, I did it that way because I wanted to keep the people around me asleep and not really wake anyone up. And also my neighbors, I don't want to wake them up at like 5 in the morning and get some complaints from them. But anyways, I have a solution. I'm going to go to a different place early in the morning just to record those videos. I'm going to keep them up, and we shouldn't have any more audio issues from here on out. I also want to note that this video may seem a little rushed because I recorded this entire video just about an hour ago, and then the entire video got deleted. It didn't really save, and I have to re-record everything. So it's okay, it happens, right? Life is full of problems, but you should not let these problems get the best of you. You must power through and you must persevere no matter what. So anyways, when it comes to all of that, let's talk about the charts and what's going on with the markets. We had NVIDIA's very bullish earnings, but one of the things I noticed before the earnings even came out is we had lots of bullish technical signals on SPY, on the QQQ, on Tesla, and many other stocks out there. And it looks like the odds favored them playing out. And we're likely going to see the market attempt to bounce very soon. But why is that? What's going on with NVIDIA to start us off? NVIDIA is up like crazy. Let me just pull up the charts. It's up 26%. At one point, it was up almost 30%, hitting 395 as the high of the day. Absolutely insane. Remember, this thing was around 300 flats, 301 when it closed, and now it's at 390. What is this? 390. I'm sorry, 386, but it reached 395 as the high. So it was up pretty big. Why is NVIDIA up so much? Because revenue came out at $7.2 billion, beating the $6.5 billion expectation. Adjusted EPS was $1.09 versus 92 cents expected, beating on that. Gaming revenue was a beat, data center beat. They absolutely killed it. And their CEO, Jensen, said some very awesome stuff. He mentioned that they have lots of innovation coming. They talked about AI. They kept saying AI, AI, AI. The market loved it. The market exploded, and we saw lots of tickers pump with this as well, like Google, obviously the AI companies. And it was just incredible to witness. The NASDAQ, the QQQ, they're pumping very hard because of it. But now I want to break down something else that's a very interesting coincidence. You'll notice, looking at the option chain on SPY, for now, we have about, what is this? Just under 400,000 calls expiring, and then we have just under 900,000 puts expiring, with a 2.3 put to call ratio and a 415 max pain. This is important because the market is overextended on the put side for Friday. This tells me that the market makers might try to pump the markets again. They might try to give us that squeeze or something like that, or at least hold the market around max pain or higher. It's very likely. What else I think is very likely, and you may think that this is wishful thinking, but not only is the market giving us some bullish technical signals, which I will break down later, but look at the debt ceiling, okay? Right now, McCarthy and Biden keep on saying that progress is being made. And I believe Janet Yellen was just fear mongering again with her speeches. She's been giving these speeches every day since Saturday, saying that if they don't get anything done, we're going to enter this bad recession. She can't do her job. The Treasury will not be able to function. It won't be able to meet its obligations. People are going to lose money. They're going to suffer. And the list goes on. And I believe all of this fear mongering, all this, tension, all this talk about them getting a deal with McCarthy and Biden continuing to say that a deal should be coming soon, it should be coming soon. I'm starting to think that they may be telling the truth about it, about at least an agreement, and we might get a deal as soon as Friday. I'm starting to think that because on Monday we have Memorial Day. The market's going to be closed on Monday. And Biden and McCarthy, I mean, it's going to hurt them if they just keep delaying this over and over again because millions of Americans and their lives are at stake. And McCarthy said that lots of progress is being made, actually, and so did Biden. So now that they seem a lot more bipartisan, they're willing to make these agreements. I'm starting to think that it's most likely going to be the case that Friday will be the day they announce an agreement. I'm starting to think that. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, then the market could just remain around these levels and chop around. In fact, the market may even tank more on Friday if we don't get it. But if they announce it, and I think the odds favor it, if there's a big announcement that's made, this could be bullish for the stock market. And I still believe the odds favor that. Now, as far as the data goes, we had the FOMC minutes. More data came out from the Fed. They are less confident on more rate hikes. And they basically stated that they're not planning on cutting any rates until 2024. The bonds market is pricing in a rate cut by September. Now, why does that happen? Why is there this big difference in expectations? Because typically, what happens when the Fed is this hawkish, raising rates to this degree in such a short period of time, what typically happens is people end up seeing things break sooner than expected. We might get a credit crunch, we may see lots of pain, and that may cause the Fed to cut rates sooner than expected. That's what typically happens during recessions, during events like this. So it's very important to note that the Fed is not planning on doing it, but for now, what they said was kind of in the middle, nothing too massive. The market did drop off the FOMC minutes, but then it did try to rebound and failed to do so. For tomorrow, however, the market's going to see a big reaction to NVIDIA. All eyes are on NVIDIA right now. We have Best Buy earnings and a couple of others which are just not too significant. We have initial jobless claims 1 hour before the market opens, plus GDP data. Okay, make sure you look at all of this very carefully. This will affect the market 1 hour before the market opens. I should be around at that time to give you guys an update too. And finally, don't forget we have some home sales data at about 9, I think it's 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, alongside one Fed speaker known as Collins at about 10:30. Not too significant though compared to NVIDIA and what's happening. Now for Tesla, let me just briefly talk about the news. The first thing is Elon Musk said he's very fixated on working to look for another gigafactory location. Right now, the news is talking about India being the place, and it could be announced by the end of the year, according to Elon Musk. He also said that he's very open to India. He likes what India is doing. He's open to the idea, and he's very open to an agreement for a gigafactory in India. Elon Musk also mentioned that, or at least Tesla as well, mentioned that they're going to be expanding their apprentices in Giga Berlin, which basically means that they're going to be signing on 180 additional trainees. Many of them could be students, many engineering students too, to help get more and more employees potentially, to help improve them going forward and teach more people their ways and their systems, which will be bullish for Tesla. Now, some bearish news came out for Tesla in the very beginning of the day. It involved Xpeng missing on earnings, which caused NIO to drop alongside Tesla in the morning, but it's not too bad right now. I just wanted to note that briefly. For the Model 3 inventory levels, okay, they're still a little bit high. I'm not really liking this. They're a little bit too high, especially because we're getting so close to Memorial Day. I'm hoping we see a big drop after Memorial Day, as we tend to see lots of car sales during that time. And they're a little high, in my opinion, which is not good for earnings and also deliveries. However, what's good is the Model Y inventory levels are starting to drop even more. That's a good sign for earnings. So the data is still mixed as usual. I know I keep repeating this almost every day, but I have to keep repeating this to let you know what could be expected for earnings going forward. Now, as far as the short volume goes, Tesla has a relatively high short volume, but it is starting to spike right here, which means it might start to come down as Tesla starts to outperform the market even more. Tesla could be set for a bounce very soon too, as short volume is dropping. What else is good is the volume was at 137 million, well above average. That tells us that there's still a lot of interest in Tesla. We saw quite a bit of sellers in the morning, followed by lots of people buying the dips, and the algos turned more bullish as the day went on, which meant that the algos started buying the dips, which helped Tesla pump. The price price ratio is relatively flat, but it's going to likely start to pump more if Tesla continues to outperform the market. And if we get a really good piece of news, right, like Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy make an announcement and the market explodes, Tesla's going to explode too, and it's going to heavily outperform the market, in my opinion. As far as the intraday net volume goes, we had some resistance at 183, major support around this 178 and around 176. Tesla held 178, and then the next major resistance, we had some resistance at 183, but stronger resistance is going to be around 186 as well. And that's where Tesla is going to be fighting for. Break above that, and we could see it get closer to 190 or a little bit below it. Uh, Anyways, for seasonality data, we tend to be green about 48% of the time on Thursdays. So Thursdays tend to not be the strongest days for Tesla, but we have some good news that could help it anyways. June tends to be a lot stronger than May. May tends to not be the best of months for Tesla. It's green only about 53% of the time. Not as strong as June historically, but things could change depending on other signals. Additionally, if you look at the hourly seasonality data, Tesla tends to do better during the fourth and fifth hours of the day. That's very interesting to witness. And be on the lookout for this time frame. Tesla tends to be a slow starter, which tends to do better later on. On top of that, Tesla has a relatively high short interest for now. If the shorts start covering, this could help Tesla pump more. As we get closer to Memorial Day, we may see more shorts cover because they don't like to hold these positions over the weekend. On top of that, if we get very bullish news, okay, thanks to Joe Biden, if it happens on Friday, uh, Biden, many other congressional members, of course, don't just want to say his name. If many of our politicians announce a good piece of news about the agreement and the market pumps, Tesla could short squeeze, many shorts could close their positions, and we could see Tesla continue to pump even harder because of that. It is potentially possible, but it's not a guarantee. I just want to note that. Now let's break down these charts. Why was I still more bullish? Why would I have been bullish regardless of Nvidia? That's because we had some bullish signals developing on Tesla. On the 1 hour time frame, there's a bullish cross on the PPO. We also formed a bullish divergence if you look at the RSI and the MACD. What do I mean by that? Well, look at the chart on the hourly time frame with the extended hours, and you will notice that Tesla used to be at 164, we're making a higher low, and on top of that, the RSI is making a lower low, so is the MACD. So there's a bullish divergence forming. Tesla should have bounced from there. In my video during the pre-market, I told you guys to watch Tesla at 180 because we had an imbalance right over there. That basically just means that the algos are going to push the price down, start selling to just fill these levels basically to balance the net volume and the net flow of the stock. And the next major level would have been around 176. So 176 and 180 are levels to watch for. We ended up bouncing directly in the middle at 178, which is completely fine with me. And that is what helped Tesla bounce. After Tesla bounced, we saw some buy-in pressure, but Tesla did not finish filling this gap. There's a gap that formed if I get rid of the extended hours. You can see this gap right about here to about 185. However, Tesla is above it right now in the after hours thanks to NVIDIA's earnings, and it's looking relatively strong and set for a bounce. Tesla could be fighting for 186, maybe reject off of it and come down just a little bit to retest into like, I don't know, around 183 around there. And then it could just keep going, or it could just be a gap and go and Tesla just starts pushing. Either way, it is set for a bounce and a potentially green close, in my opinion, unless we get a bad piece of news from the debt ceiling, which I'm starting to doubt because SPY is looking stronger. SPXs, NASDAQ, and many other stocks and ETFs and indexes, they're starting to look stronger. So this could help Tesla as well get a nice bounce for tomorrow and make its way up to the 186 level, if not into the higher 180s if we break above that. We could even get close to like 190 if we get a really big push. But once again, it all depends on how we react to many other things. Also, watch 193 as resistance if we even break above that. But for now, I'm just going to be watching the mid 180s to the high 180s for a small to medium sized bounce. For SPY, this was forming a bullish divergence. And let me just apologize if I'm talking a little bit fast. I just want to quickly get this over with. There's a potential bullish divergence forming, okay, on the hourly chart. What I'm seeing is on the RSI, if anything, this was very, very over sold. Same thing with the MACD, making this lower low. And we were forming a higher low on the chart right here. So the higher low on the price, a lower low on the RSI, lower low on the MACD. And on top of that, for the MACD, we're getting this potential crossover right here where the histograms are, which could turn more bullish. If it breaks and holds 412.5, we are above it in the after hours, but we have to hold 412.5. If we hold it, it's going to make its way up to 414 in my opinion and start filling a lot of these gaps. There's another gap around almost 419. If we get a bullish news from Joe Biden, we could even fill that gap and get closer to 420. Joe Biden and the congressional members, that is. So overall, it's looking like it could bounce from here. It has to hold above 409 at the very least, and it could make its way up to fill this gap around 414 very, very soon. For the QQQ, this thing is on fire. It's up over $5 in the after hours, already above this gap. It might make its way down to get back to 333 and then bounce, or just keep pushing. But overall, I'm seeing a nice bounce and a big shift in the chart for the bullish moves to come. Let me just also add that when you bring back the extended hours, the QQQ has a bullish cross on the PPO, and we might continue to see the QQQ push up and get closer to 340 very soon. It's currently at about 336. That's going to be one resistance level to watch for. Then we have about 337.5, followed by the high we made around 338.78. Overall, it looks relatively strong, looking for a nice bounce, so watch these resistance levels very, very carefully. The HYG was already being bought previously because smart money or institutions were already starting to buy. They may have already known that NVIDIA would do well, and they may know something about Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy. We're about to get a bullish cross on the PPO, and we have a bullish divergence forming on the RSI, on the MACD, and also on the price, which could help the market pump even more. You could freeze the video here if you want to just look at this for just a couple more minutes. Anyways, for NEO, this was very, very oversold, and it formed a potential. I don't really see a bullish divergence. I mean, there's technically one like right here that could be argued. I mean, there's a possible one on the extended hours. On the MACD, we have a bullish divergence, but we're about to get a crossover on the MACD or MACD. NEO is going to make its way up to $8, try to break above that. It's going to likely try to do so, and if it breaks above 8.21 above the 200 EMA, it's going to fly closer to the high 8s for the gap fill. For the NASDAQ, this thing is curling. One of the things I told you is we're going to likely retest 12,400. That is exactly or almost exactly where it went to. Then it bounced from here. After it got the bounce, it's getting close to fill this gap. We have a bullish divergence that developed on the RSI and the MACD, and it's starting to curl. So it's looking more bullish to me. It's going to likely try to fill this gap very, very soon, try to get a bounce. And it will depend on what happens with the dead ceiling for an even bigger move. But for now, I am seeing a potential for a small to medium sized bounce. SPX is showing the same thing. We're about to get a crossover on the PPO. There's a bullish divergence as it has been very oversold around these levels compared to before. And it's likely going to make its way all the way back up to fill this gap around this 4140 plus area around there, around the 50 EMA for the 1 hour retest. Once again, looking more bullish than bearish. The VIX slammed into resistance and starting to slow down, and we're starting to get a bearish cross that's forming on the PPO. We're also seeing the VIX losing momentum as we have this gap down here, another gap down here. So now the VIX is starting to slow down because the market may pump a bit, causing the VIX to drop even more. Same thing is happening with the SQQQ, basically the same thing. There was a bullish divergence that technically has been developing, and we're about to get this crossover. Not really a crossover, but it's continuing to drop from right here. So if anything, did I say bullish divergence? I meant bearish divergence. Sorry about that, guys. There was a bearish divergence forming on the QQQ. I think I misspoke for a second. I'm so sorry about that. As a bearish divergence, it rejected off the 200. Now it's slowing down because of the QQQ pumping. And it's likely going to continue to slow down as the market ends up continuing, all right, to pump. The dollar index, it's very, very overbought, and there's a bearish divergence that formed right here. It made a higher high, whereas the RSI is making a lower high relative to like this level. So we might see the dollar cool off as the market pumps a little bit. However, here's the thing about this. If the dollar holds above 103, there's potential for the dollar to pump more. If the dollar keeps pumping, that could eventually turn bearish for the markets. For Coinbase, this thing is likely going to try to bounce just like the QQQ. It might cool off on the RSI just a bit, then make its way up in the by tomorrow when the market opens above 60. For Baba, it's going to likely bounce too. I'm looking for a potential bounce here as it has this like very oversold state and has a very nice double bottom on the 1 hour time frame, like right here. So it could bounce and make its way up to about 83 for a 50 EMA retest. And then we have a bullish cross right here on the PPO. Very, very possible. Aapl is once again holding up okay so far. It might try to get above the 200 EMA, at least test to get there, and it could even reach 172.5 very, very soon. We're getting a potential cross, and I said yesterday Apple's going to test 170. What happened? It bounced exactly off 170, and I was looking for a bounce right there. That's exactly what ended up happening. Apple's gaining some strength. We could see 172.5 very, very soon. Nvidia is up 25%. It might cool off just a little bit, but overall, it's going to be up pretty big tomorrow when we open. This thing is a monster. I don't think it's done just yet, and it's looking pretty strong. We're gonna get a really nice green close. People will make lots of money on the options chain. Just be careful with it. Don't be afraid to secure profits. Not financial advice, by the way, and be very, very grateful for what profits are made. Don't be too greedy, and just know it's a blessing in disguise, if anything, because or I would like to say that it could be looked at as a blessing, of course, but at the same time, you have to be careful because you can't become overconfident during earnings like this. And this does not mean that you should just YOLO everything into earnings over and over again. You always have to manage risks and be careful regardless. I know you don't want to hear that during a time like this, but you always need to be ready and prepared because earnings can still be risky. This is just like very different from many earnings. We typically don't see huge moves like this, like 25%, 30%. But if anything, awesome to see. I'm very proud of NVIDIA and the people that made money. And nothing I said is financial advice for the second time. Now, for Google, pumping with NVIDIA, it could cool off to the 50 EMA, then continue pushing, and we could see this thing get closer to 130. However, it needs to cool off a bit. It is kind of overextended in a way. So I'm going to anticipate it to cool off first before continuing to push. If it breaks above the high that was made, at least from this run, it's going to make its way up to about 127. Break above that, then we could see 130. The 10-year Treasury yield is not running like normal because it's being manipulated by Janet Yellen and many other politicians because of the current debt ceiling situation. It's forming a head and shoulders. If this plays out, this could become bullish for the markets. So be on the lookout for that. And then for Amazon, I mean, I thought Amazon would trade very flat and close very flat. It was kind of flat, didn't really do anything too big, but now it's forming a potential. Let me just see if this is playing out. Sorry, right here is forming this like inverse head and shoulders right here. We have a left shoulder ahead and then like the right shoulder. Could pump a little bit more around this 118 level and try to break above 118.75, but that's going to depend on how it reacts tomorrow. For now, Amazon's looking pretty decent. I'm not seeing it exploding, but I could see a decent move. Meta looks pretty nice. I think it's going to retest the 250s. Could even break above them. It could even break this high as it's looking very, very strong. Meta, in my opinion, has a very beautiful setup. It's been continuing to pump for the last, for many, many weeks now, and I believe it's going to likely continue to do so. Now, I could see this thing maybe pumping very hard if we get a nice announcement from Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy. So be on the lookout for that. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for listening. For Tesla, don't forget about the important levels. I will remind you guys about them tomorrow during the morning. And until then, remain calm, cool, and collected. Uh, NVIDIA's looking very strong. It's looking very nice. Okay? But as the market pumps, there could be another black swan event, another catalyst being Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy pumping the markets pretty hard if they announce an agreement. If they do so, we could see the market pump even more, right? It could be very, very big for Friday. Be on the lookout for that. If they don't announce any agreement, this could be bad for the markets, but I think that's unlikely. Anyways, thank you all for listening. For tomorrow specifically, look for potential bounces and do what you have to do. I have some merch for you guys if you're interested in buying anything from a Money is Calling shirts to the moon, sweater or tank top or something like that. Please look out for it around the comment section. Also, don't forget about the Weeble link. I have a link down below in the comment section and also in the description. Check it out if you're interested. And with that out of the way, Tesla to the moon alongside the overall market as the long term is still incredibly bright. And peace out.